Hey all, this is 102 Boku coming at you again with another movie review. Sorry it's been a while, I've had a lot of stuff going on, work and all that jazz, but I just want to let you know I'm still here, still doing movie reviews, and trying to still go strong with that. And as you could saw, or as you could have seen today, be reviewing King Kong. Sorry, don't know the theme to King Kong that well, even though it is a beautiful theme of a movie. But yeah, I will be reviewing King Kong and all its glory. King Kong is a good movie that was made in 2005, a remake of the 1933, 1976, and I'm not sure, maybe even 1980 version. I think there's been maybe like a few remakes done of King Kong. I'm not sure. I know there's quite a few. I know there was one where he climbed the Empire State Building. That was a little for that one, but there's all that great stuff involved with all these films and the remakes. Now, when Peter Jackson made a film, I think that was pretty definitive for the 21st century, and his version of King Kong was actually pretty dang good. I mean, he gave us more of a look at what King Kong would be like if he was more of a tragic anti-hero, instead of like a monster horror sort of angle. And within this film, it has a pretty good stellar cast. It's built around Naomi Watts, who plays Anne Darrow, who is a character who was on Broadway, and Naomi Watts actually does do a lot of Broadway stuff in her performance. Very, very small scenes, but it's very cool to see Naomi Watts actually perform and do a lot of her own stuff. And either way, Anne Darrow was a Broadway performer. Her play gets shut down, and she's out of work. She's an actress struggling to make it because, it's 1933, it's New York, the whole depression at times, people not working, the pretty big dark age for America at that time, and she's just looking for work, and she stumbles upon Carl Denham, or Carl Denham stumbles upon her, gets her a job acting in his film, and that leads Anne Darrow on the whole kooky crazy adventure to Skull Island, to her getting caught by the Skull Islanders, to the relationship that she builds with Kong, which is very, very human and very, very unique, and you can tell she cares about Kong a lot in this film. The emotion is there, and Naomi Watts brings tons and tons of that, and she was just so great in this role. And it also stars Jack Black, who ironically enough plays Carl Denham, and you would think that Jack Black would not be able to play this sort of sleazy guy just trying to get his film off the ground any way that he can, because he wants to entertain people. He wants people to be entertained and have something good in the world. He wants to have fame and be noticed for something. And Jack Black actually played it very well. I mean, there are some humorous bits that Jack Black does in the film, and you can see his mannerisms and things just pop out. It's actually really cool to see him play a much more serious role than what we've seen him do, and he really plays this guy who's living on the edge, who actually acquires a map of Skull Island just by chance and goes there using his own money because his studio wants to shut his film down. He doesn't want it, or the studio does not want the film completed. They want Carl Denham to be arrested. They don't want him to be out and about anymore, and Carl is just doing what he can to get his film done. And sorry, text there. Wants to get his film done in any way that he possibly can, so he finds a cheap ship, which he gets from some sailors who sell zoo animals, and they go off to Skull Island to an unknown territory. And Peter Jackson even says in the audio commentary that he didn't want Carl Denham to really know about Skull Island. Like, he knew that this place possibly could exist, but he wanted Denham to be more on a wild goose chase and have a hope that it could be there, instead of he, like, oh, I know where this is, and so does the crew, and, we like, hey, we know everything, we know about Kong and stuff, and it was more along the lines of him not knowing. And when they get to Skull Island, all the troubles that happen, and alleviate Carl to his destination, show him, he's a desperate man, he's willing to film anything, even if people are dying, and, he just really wants this project to work at any cost over any life. Like, you see his humanity and morals just sort of deteriorate over the time of the film, which is actually really brilliant. Once again, Jack Black plays it so well. So you gotta give Jack Black a lot of credit for doing Carl Denham the way he did. Just brilliant. Very, very brilliant writing and acting on his part. And then there is Adrian Brody, who plays Jack Driscoll, who is the writer on Carl Denham's film, or the somewhat unlucky writer. And I'll admit, this is probably one of my favorite roles with Adrian Brody. I've not seen The Pianist, even though I want to. I heard that's a fantastic film, but I've not seen it. I've always seen Adrian Brody in this movie and in a few others, and one being The Predators. But we will get into Predators in another day, which I more in doubt will review, because I do own that film. And, but anyway, away from Predators, back to King Kong. But Adrian Brody plays Jack Driscoll very well in this film. And Jack Driscoll is a guy who is reluctantly, brought on this trip, because he was just doing some quick writing for Carl in the film, because they were on the boat that they were going to take to Skull Island, and Jack was going to drop off the script for Carl, and Jack had only wrote about 15 pages, and Jack was going to leave, but Carl distracts him, gets him to stay on the ship, and Jack is brought along for the ride, to Skull Island, just for the heck of it, because of complete foolery on Carl Denham's part. And, Jack is thinking, he's not going to like this, but he runs into Ann Darrow, which Ann is actually a big fan of Jack, and they have a bit of a rocky start to their relationship, because, Ann was saying, you're not like all the other snobbish writers, and Jack overhears it, and it causes a little friction, but they actually develop a relationship pretty quick, which is, quite believable, and, how she likes Jack's work, and then Jack has always seen her plays and seen her do things, and actually Jack is writing a play for her in his spare time, and it's just really cool to see in that relationship forms, and it takes to good heights. Sorry if I can't explain it well. It's just it's one of those things where when you see the film and just their relationship just happened between one another. It's one of those passing of the eye glances, sort of the like, oh wow, I can't believe this is happening sort of romance. And when you see it, it's believable. At least to me it is. And when they get to Skull Island, they're on there, the Skull Islanders kidnap Anne, and a lot of the sailors and people want to just leave, but Jack actually wants to go back and save her, and not leave without her, because she's important, they shouldn't leave without her. And Jack actually is one of the big guys who actually spearhead this thing. The captain lets them go aboard, and they go to Skull Island, and Jack's involved in a whole bunch of weird kooky things while they're searching for Anne, like a brontosaurus stampede, and a bug pit, dinosaurs, the whole kit and caboodle. So it's really cool to see the adventure. And it's like when Kong gets brought to New York, Jack is really the ire of Kong, because Jack was trying to take Anne away from Kong towards the end of the film, and Kong saw that, so Kong looks at Jack as sort of like a rival. So there's that little love triangle rivalry that Jack and Kong have, which is really cool. And Adrian Brody just plays it so well. It's very humanistic in his role, so I got to give Adrian Brody credit for doing that too. And there's also Thomas Kretschmann, who is a great German actor who plays Captain Engelhorn, and he does a very nice job because Captain Engelhorn is hired by Carl Denham. Like Carl Denham pays him whatever money he has to take him across the ocean to this island. And the sailors and sorry, Captain Engelhorn have heard about Skull Island. They don't want to go there, but they've heard about it and they know about the dangers. And Captain Engelhorn is, very nervous about going there. He doesn't want to really go there, and he keeps trying to tell Carl, there's nothing out there. There's nothing to see. It's a waste of time. And with all that, it just goes on, and they eventually find it when Carl and Jack and Ann and all the crew go aboard to start filming, and the Skull Islanders attack. Captain Engelhorn leads some men onto the island to save them, and they're trying to leave and trying to get out, but all the misfortunes happens, and Engelhorn is actually the one who lets Jack and the other sailors know, if you want to save Ann, you have an hour to do it, to get her off before I leave. And basically Engelhorn is the guy who, just sort of like from the original with Carl Denham, it's like he knows what's actually going on, but Engelhorn is more of a guy where it's like, I want to see people safe, I don't want them dying on me, I just want to get off this island, this was a mistake, I need to protect the crew and the people who are on here, you're my responsibility, all these different things. And with Engelhorn and the others being a part of this zoo, catchers and animal catchers to bring to zoos, as I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, Carl Denham actually convinces Engelhorn to try to trap Kong, which goes disastrous, and it's more about survival at some point. And Thomas Kretschmann just sort of plays that, air to the side of caution character very well, and he brings a lot of goodness to the film, and actually is a pretty big role for it. So it's really cool to just see a very good actor play the role, and I think Thomas Kretschmann does a great job. And we also have Colin Hanks, who plays Preston, Carl Denham's assistant, who is just a guy who's along for the ride. He, like Carl, wants to see his film succeed, and Preston's just wondering how Carl's going to pull all this off the ground, because they barely have any money, and a lot of their actors quit the project, and a lot of things just go belly up in the air for them. And Preston is a guy who just sticks with it all, and goes through Carl, and just wants to make everything done right as well. But once they get closer to Skull Island, Preston starts having these worries, these thoughts, these concerns about, will everything be okay? Will, stuff turn out alright? Will Carl have his film? And then it becomes, once things start going bad in Skull Island, and, Preston sees the change of Carl, he starts to wonder, Carl, are we still doing this for the right thing? People are dying. Are you being selfish about this at all? I'm wondering if I'm doing the right thing but not making a stand or taking a stand. And it's like one of those things where where you see a character really doubt whether his boss is doing the correct thing. And towards the end of the movie, when Carl Denham is about to unveil Kong, and he's with the executives who are all happy now and willing to see him, and Carl's all basking in his fame. Yeah, Preston, who's sort of watching Carl in the rafters, and when Carl and Preston make eye contact, Preston's like, I hope, like they don't say anything, but Preston sort of gives them the look like, I hope everything you have tonight was worth it, given everybody who died and everything that happened. So it's one of those things, and Colin Hanks brings a nice humanistic flavor to the role, and it was nice to see him in the role of Preston. There's also, let's see, what's his name? Oh yes, Jamie Bell, who plays, shoot, who did Jamie Bell play? Oh yeah, he plays Jimmy, one of the crew members on the Venture, one of the sailors. We know a little bit about Jimmy, and I mean, Jamie Bell, plays a very nice young acting kid who, was found as a stowaway on the animal ship on one of the cages. Another guy, Mr. Hayes, finds him, and Hayes, who's a former soldier and stuff, brings Jimmy up, and Jimmy learns things from him, and Jimmy's learning, by trying to read and going through all these different things. Jimmy is also another character who's very avid about saving Am when they get to Skull Island, and, there's all these cool things, and Jimmy's just a little cool additional character to have as one of the people who we have feelings for, and to give us a edge on what Kong is and what Skull Island is, and it's very cool to see Jamie Bell in a bit of a role like that. And now finally we have a creme de la creme role of Andy Serkis, who actually plays a double role in this picture. We'll get to his main one first, which is King Kong. He does the all the motion capture for Kong, a lot of the sounds, which are amplified by CGI, of course, but he does a lot of the sounds and a lot of the body work and stuff, and I have to say that Andy Serkis does a very good job. He actually went into the mountains to study gorillas and went to the zoo to study gorillas, and he found a way of how they moved, interacted, and what they did. And Andy Serkis just brings a lot of that to life in Kong with his with his movements and with his sound that he does and everything. I mean, he's just very good at how he does it. I mean, even when he was just a guy on set working in a suit to give actors something to react to, people were saying, it was really cool and awesome to see him react, plus it was frightening at times what they would do with the sound amplifier that he wore to make the sounds of Kong. And his performance is just really like Gollum's. Well, sorry, really like Gollum's, and it's just a very, very good, acting performance of a man portraying a gorilla. So just top-notch work from Andy Serkis there. I mean, I've got to give him credit because he really does bring a lot of those humanistic features to Kong that we want to see with his relationship between Anne and the creature itself. And Andy Serkis also plays a secondary character, which we actually get to see him as a person himself. He plays the cook, Lumpy, who is sort of a comedic character and a guy who is a character who spreads the superstition of Skull Island to Carl and Preston. And, he's just sort of a guy where it's like, I'm a cook, I'm a sailor, but I'm like a pirate type of guy. Arr! And, it's like very cool to just see him do, and, to act like this scared, bumbling cook dude, and, just a guy who has wisdom, but, is also very, very bizarre in his ways. So it's just very cool to see Andy Serkis play somebody who isn't like a computer-generated creature. It's actually him playing a character named Lumpy. So it's very cool to see him do that. And, overall, I'd have to say that King Kong is a great film. It has a wonderful, wonderful score by James Newton Howard, who provided great music. I mean, the main theme to King Kong is just so melodic and mysterious. It gives you a lot to go on, and it's very enjoyable. And the love theme between Kong and Anne is very, very heartwarming and just very, very beautiful. Nice to hear. So James Newton Howard does a great job on on the score. You have a very, very good amount of CGI work. I mean, Kong's CGI work is just fantastic, and they brought him to life. The dinosaurs look pretty dang good. Skull Island, which I never knew a lot of it was, but a lot of that is computer generated. It looks almost real, which is awesome to hear. I thought a lot of that was set, but a lot of it is miniatures and stuff like that combined with CGI. So a lot of the effects in this movie are very top notch and well done, so I've got to give them credit for that. On top of that, you have let's see, what else do we have? Because I know there was more to mention besides that. And then oh yeah, I mean, the pacing of the film. That's another big one. A lot of people thought the film was way too long, that, 3 hours for a film is just too much to put in, but I think, the pacing of the film, the way it's done, what we get to see, what you have delivered, the characterization, it's all done very well. So, granted, another 3-hour film, and I know it is King Kong, but it did give you a lot to go on, and I mean, I thought it was really well done for the length and time that it had, and I got to give Peter Jackson credit. This film deserved 3 hours to give us more of Skull Island and more of King Kong and the characters and what we could see, as with the Hobbit films, which I don't own yet, but I don't know if I will, but if I do, it's just going to be for posterity reasons only and for memorabilia, which if I do, I probably will review them either way, but I know I'm not going to react favorably to them, because I'll tell you right now, I did not care for the Hobbit films. The Lord of the Rings films are good, which you'll get my reviews on those, and you'll get my review here of King Kong, but, I'm not going to give favorably to the Hobbit, because I think a lot of those were like, wow, all this extra stuff that did need to have, and 3 hours of this stuff, ugh. But that's just me, of course. And another thing I could add to is that I know this is the regular DVD edition of King Kong. I would have done this at my apartment, but I'm at my parents' house, and I forgot to grab the deluxe edition. But I do have the deluxe edition of King Kong, which is actually really cool, because it adds a whole bunch of special features and how they made King Kong, a really good audio commentary, and it gives you a whole chock full of things that explain how they do things in the film, which is very entertaining if you like that sort of stuff, and it's just awesome to see. Plus, in the deluxe edition, there's, I think they said 16 or 20 more minutes added to the film, and you get things like there's actually a Triceratops attack at the beginning of the film, or no, at the start of when they're on Skull Island. A Triceratops attacks the group, which is actually really cool. You get that. You get a part where right after the Brontosaurus stampede, they actually go across the swamp to get to the other side, and they're attacked by giant eel monsters, which is really cool to see, and that's a fun scene. And there's also a bit more to the bug pit, where when they get to the bug pit at the end of it, when Bruce Baxter and Captain Englehorn and the group save everybody, you have a bit more conversation between Jack and the whole group and Englehorn, and saying goodbye to certain characters and stuff like that. It's really nice to see. So if you have a chance to get the deluxe edition, I would say see the deluxe edition of this. It's a nice thing to have, and it's worth those extra minutes. I think it just gives you, once again, a bit more of Skull Island and a bit more to go on, which I think is absolutely cool. So, I mean, overall, I would have to give this film a 9 out of 10. I thought it was very well done and very well acted, made. Peter Jackson did a great job on this, I think, and, overall, it's just a great film. So if you guys want to leave any comments about what you think about King Kong, or what your reviews would be on this, or what you would think of it, I would appreciate it. And, just let me know how and what you guys thought, alright? So, alright then, this is 012 Boku, saying see you guys again, and I will hopefully be back with another review very soon. Okay? See ya.